Hello, everybody. It's your boy Big L, PhD. Thank you so much for taking the time out your busy schedule to check out this video. Thank you so much. If you're new subscribers, let me say welcome. Thank you. Um, there's been a few men who have said to me, "Listen, I really appreciate the content. We need more content like this." A couple of females have said it too. A couple of ladies. But I wanted to, I make it for everyone, so it's not really male centric or whatever. I really want everybody to become the best version of themselves. Sometimes I do make content that's a little more male specific, but if you tune to this episode, it's going to be a little bit more female centered. But I want to say thank you to everyone who's done it. It is never in my wheelhouse to do an intentional hit piece to disrespect the lovely ladies. I really want to help people. I was thinking about doing another show about the black community overall, let you know my thoughts about that. But until I do that, I just want to make sure that people are the best versions of themselves. Period. All right, so let's dig into it. Let's talk about it. Let's dig into it and let's talk about it. I had a conversation with my daughter. I can say my daughter. My son listens to these, but my daughter doesn't listen. So, we always have a good conversation. And a lot of times, I always wish we could record them. So, conversation I had with my daughter. I don't think that there's a lot of listening. I don't think that there's a lot of listening, paying attention. That's what's going between the ladies. And I wonder this, between the ladies themselves. I'm obviously not a lady, and I know that there's podcasts that center on ladies and all that. But when I watch those, they are so far off of what men really are, the simplicity of what they are. They think this, they think that, right? You think certain things. One of the biggest ones I continue to hear, that I continue to see, is that men are intimidated by a woman's success. And I have no doubt that there probably are some men out there who are intimidated by it. But I think a successful man is not intimidated by it. And for the 100,000th time, men do not like essentially the attitudes that come with that. They don't like the boss chick energy. They don't like the bulliness, the lack of cooperation and submissiveness. And to say we can turn it on and off, I don't think it's accurate. And if a man says, "Listen, I'm just going to be in my feminine energy. I'm going to walk around switching and make with high heels, make ladies pay for dates," all these feminine traits and qualities that people have, until I meet a woman who can put me into my masculine, that would sound ridiculous. And that's exactly what men hear when I do that. But I don't want to get off on that. So my daughter and I were talking, and we're talking about she a lot of these ideas that I come up with, I again, from my own experiences dealing with my kids. My kids are in their 20s, seeing what they're going through, and dealing with in my own personal life. So my daughter's she's seeing a guy and all this. He's got a fairly decent job, but it's not a career. And my daughter she's middle 20s, and she wants to have a guy who, if and when she gets pregnant, will be able to support 100% of the bills. I think that this is rational, reasonable thinking. I think whoever her father was did a good job raising it to come up with this type of formula by which to live your life. If you're going to get pregnant, you're going to be out of work for a few months, a couple of years, to raise kids and all this kind of stuff, right? You have to have a plan for that. And she wants a guy with more than a career. He makes good, decent money, but it's not a career, right? A career. I think at this point you should know the difference between men and a job and a career and all that, right? You should know, right? So, you need benefits, you need stability, you need to be able to advance, you need to be able to move up the chain, have different opportunities. You need those are things that encompass a career, right? So she's trying to push him. You don't got to go to college, but you should at least have a skill, and I advocate for that, man. If a young man is asking me, hey, listen, should I go to college, or should I get a trade, get a skill, something that will pay the bills, get the skill. I wish that I was more handy. I mean, listen, I own my own house, so something goes wrong with my toilet, I've been able to take it off. I've done some plumbing work, but not to the advanced welding and stuff, right? Replace a few pipes and a few things here or there, right? You can't be calling a plumber for all this stuff, right? Or calling an electrician for all this stuff. So whenever I get a chance, or whenever I have the opportunity to do something that's fairly simple, I do it. But I wish I was more handy. I wish I was more handy. I wish I had a skill, plumbing, electrical, HVAC. I wish all that kind of stuff. Before I went back to school, I was actually going to go to barber school, and it would have been obviously much cheaper. But my at the time I was working, so I'm like, the PD's going to pay for 75% of it. So why don't I just? And I was weighing the two options. So I was like, let me just get the degree. That way, when I retire and I'm old, I'm going to be standing up on my feet all day. I can, do what I'm doing now and be an adjunct professor. So that was, or move off into something else, some type of office type job. That was my thinking. But I would encourage the men. I would encourage if you're asking me as a man to do this, then I think you should get a skill. Now, I it's not a bait and switch. I want to talk to the ladies a little bit here. So, but as I'm talking to my daughter, right? So we move on from that conversation. We go on to something else about, and we start talking about, the lack of ladies listening. And I'm just gonna be blunt about it. The lack of ladies listening, right? There are these lists out there. And I'll put the list up on the screen that I just saw recently. And I saw some maybe a year, 6 months, a year ago. I don't remember how long the time span was. And just whole gender war list kind of thing. But let me tell you something, man. Let me tell you something. Recently, very, very recently, I went overseas, and I went to Thailand, and I went to the Philippines, and I'm planning to go to other places. And I'm saying this not because of the places that I have gone, but I'm saying this because of the experience that you have to have when you're traveling. You're getting on airplanes. You're dealing with flight attendants. You're dealing with people in the place, right? You're dealing with people in the restaurant, inside of the airport, the restaurants, the shopping malls, etc. Right? This whole thing. And I've been to Europe before. Just done some extensive traveling. And in a few months, I'm going to start traveling again. I'm going to start another channel dedicated to me traveling. I think I talked about that already. So anyway, but I'm saying this about the collective ethnic image. The collective ethnic image, that's one of the things that was on the list there, right? How I'm not saying that the list is true, but I'm saying that I think that there are some truths to it. There are some truths to it. And I say that with a very sad face, and I'm saying that as somebody who wants to help try to fix it. My daughter is obviously a young black female. I don't want her to have this collective image if and when she decides to travel and go different places. I've talked to my daughter about wearing bonnets on the airplane, in the airport, in one ear right out the other, because of this refusal to listen, because of this refusal to, I don't know what it is, man. And I wish I could explain this from a psychosocial perspective. Why this continues to go on. Why is there no listening? Listen, I'm constantly talking about taking stock of yourself. Constantly, that is one of my biggest messages. To look at yourself, to analyze yourself, to understand who and what you are. And one of my recent videos was about, having other people help you to do that, because you cannot take a full uh, analysis, because it's difficult to take a full analysis of yourself. It's difficult. So I had listen, if you met me, right? Or you were sitting on a bus, or you're right, or whatever, and you go to a certain, let's just say you're at a job, you try to imagine this, right? You're at a job, and every time people come to your cubicle, or to your office, or to your workstation, whatever, I always say, man, it smells so terrible over here, but you don't smell it. It smells so terrible over here, right? And maybe you hear, you go by the lunchroom, people are saying, man, that Hunter guy, I mean, he stinks. And they're giving you all these different cues, and they know that they're talking about you. At what point do you ask yourself, or do you have an honest assessment of yourself and say, maybe it really is me? At what point does that become a reality, a possibility, an inward look, a self-reflection? And I'm asking the ladies in particular, black ladies, to do that. I think that there's a lot of problems between men and women. I think that we're all humans. We're all trying to have this human experience. And when you talk to men, I think overall that they try to make adjustments. We've talked to men about misogynistic, sexist practices within the workplace, and we've adjusted many of those things. There's a lot of things that we've done. It's been slow. Yes, we talk to people about racist ideologies, right? And sometimes people just got to get old and die, and new crop of people got to come up. But it seems to me that this situation that we have, this gender war thing, and it seems to me that this thing is really bad. It's really bad. It's bad to the point where people aren't dating and all this kind of stuff. So people aren't dating, people aren't marrying, people are getting divorced, people, they're just sleeping around, and it's having drastic ramifications upon men, and I would say socially upon women, right? So I want you to take stock in yourself and take a look at yourself and try to really understand, what's going on. And so I'm asking, because I think that there's some things that I think that the ladies could do and should do in order to change, in order to change their way that they look at themselves. I saw a video on the internet, Facebook, I think it was, of these sisters. They were, Soros sisters. I think I talked about this before. Soros sisters in Colombia, in a bar, singing trying to drown out the music, or drowning out the music, trying to sing whatever sorority song they were singing. Why would you do that? Collective image. Why are you doing that? These people don't know what you're saying, right? Half of them probably speak Spanish, right? Or have very limited, even if they do understand the words that are coming out, they don't understand the nuance and context of what you're saying. They don't understand it, right? I talk to people who, usually use a slang term. They don't know what you're talking about. They don't know. What do you mean by that? So I'm asking for, I really think, at what point do the ladies take a look at themselves? At what point is it your fault? At what point is it? How long was that there? At what point do you really try to take a self-assessment and say, man, this is something that we could do better as a collective. This is something we really should do better as a collective. This is something that we really should work on, and that we should really try to analyze, and we really should try to get ourselves together about. This is something that we really need to to understand, why we do certain things. Why we do certain things. And I just don't think that that's being done. I don't. And I said this because of the conversation I had with my daughter, right? So she and I are still talking about what men want. How come they're not? If you don't know, I think that everybody knows what men want. Men are simple. We're not complex. We have changed. We have not changed, but the ladies have, due to all this things I've talked about before. Um, the environment, more jobs, they've changed in what they want. And I asked the question, I asked the question: did they ever really like? Did they ever really like that? Did you ever really like us? I don't know. So that's what I want to talk about for today. Is really take how do ladies take a self-assessment stock of themselves. Now, some are doing it. I've seen plenty of YouTube videos of ladies saying, men are right. They should go overseas to get wives. There's no wives here. We're ratchet. We're ghetto. We don't, everything's fake. And this is a conversation I have with my daughter, right? We don't like this stuff. No matter how many times, I'm talking about, and here's where the conversation really got good at. Is you think that men are going overseas and they're dating Beckys and Meilings and Anus and what's a good Asian name? I don't know. Yeah, Mei Ling, right? Or Maria, right? You think they were doing that because of the way that they look. You think they were doing that because of the way that they look, and we're not doing it because of that. We're doing it because of the attitudes. We're doing it because of the we're doing it because of the weight problems. We're doing it because many of the ideas on the list. I don't know who created the list, but when I look at the list, I have to say to myself, man, this is really, really accurate. A lot of these things are really accurate. And I say that sadly. I say that as a member of the black community who's lived in the black community the vast majority of my life, who's went to a black church, not a non-denominational church. I went to a black church. I went to a black church. I grew up, going to the boys club with mostly other black individuals. In where I was, there was a lot of Albanian kids. So it was mostly black and Albanians there at the boys club. Some Puerto Ricans there, but it was mostly black and Albanians. Black schools, very, very mixed schools, very mixed schools. So I have a good grasp of the black experience. I married black women, coached black kids at the Pee Wee and Pop Warner football leagues, as well as police activity stuff. Very, very, very black. And I met the parents and, worked in the police department. So I have a very, very good grasp on the black experience. And I'm going to tell you, it's cold. I'm going to tell you that list is not far off. And again, it's not the aesthetics. See, the ladies that are throwing on blonde wigs, it's an epidemic of blonde wigs. And I saw a lady who, I guess she's a judge, who's getting in trouble, may get fired, and from Georgia, all weaved out and stuff. We do not like that. And no matter how many times we say it, I don't understand why the ladies. I don't understand why black women are continuing to do this. There has been other black women who have fought for these different crown acts. They fought for these different crown acts, and you're continuing to put on blonde wigs. We don't like the raptor Wolverine claws. We don't like them. We don't like the eye stuff. We don't like the skin bleaching. We don't like the blonde wigs. We don't like it. And you think that you think that we're going after that. You think that we're going after that because of the way that these women look. You think that we like the way that they look. We don't. Or it's not a motivating factor. It's where we're getting away from it, trying to get a woman who's more agreeable, more submissive, more cooperative, and all that. That's what we're looking for. Who's more fit, who are thinner, takes pride in their way that they look, isn't doubling down, talking about take me as I am. We want women who generally are childless, especially now, right? I grew up, I'm talking 30 years ago, I was 30 years. This is how much time has changed. And you're talking to a guy who I grew up in the 80s. I graduated from high school in the early 90s, right? I got married 95 when I just became a police officer because I was very religious. I'm telling you, since that 1995 on down, right? The world, the dating world in the United States is completely different. You would think you were on another planet, right? There was no issue with some people would talk about it, but no issue in really getting dating a stepmother. Right, I talk all of my friends are like, I dated a woman with kids. Okay, no problem. I married a woman with kids. I married a woman. Almost all my friends did. We all a couple of them didn't. A couple of them first time. But a lot of my friends grew up and married someone with kids. It was no issue. Now it's complete. There's podcast episodes dedicated to it. Don't do it. And here's a guy. I'm 50. I would tell you not to do it because the landscape has changed so much. You can't discipline these kids. The kids talk back to you. All this kind of stuff, right? And I have a good relationship with my stepson, right? We play video games, right? I'm a grown man, right? He calls me up and you want to play a game. He lives down in Florida. I'm in Connecticut, right? We play video games. Good relationship. But I wouldn't advise anybody else to do it. I wouldn't advise him to do it. What happened? Listen, I don't know. It's and I don't know why the ladies don't understand that. I couldn't understand, and this is how I came to the list. And I said to my daughter, you're not listening to what the men want. You continue, and my daughter has natural hair, so I wasn't talking about her stuff. But a lot of these ladies aren't talking about their attitudes, talking about their rates of obesity, being overweight, all this other stuff, right? You're not looking at that. You're not listening to what the men want. They are not listening to what the men want. They do not care. They don't care. Don't care. I don't know. I do not understand that. I do not understand that. I don't understand. So, listen. I didn't make this to beat up on the ladies, but I want you to actually listen to what the men want. And if you don't care, we don't care. If you don't care, we don't care. All right? They're not going to beg you. They're not going to chase you. You're not going to run. We're not going to do any of that. We're just going to go somewhere else. Particularly for black men, this is the first time in a black history experience of being in the United States where we can take a look at ourselves and do a self-assessment of ourselves and say, and listen, we want a different life. This is really the first time. I mean, a few military men were able to do it, right? A few guys who went overseas and decided to retire overplay, but wholesale, we're working online. You can do it. They're going to take the opportunity. They're going to take the opportunity. I'm taking the opportunity. I'm retired. I continue to teach online. What am I going to stay here for? I'm going to stay in the U.S. for. This is a big problem, a big and growing problem, and it's solvable. Well, I don't know if it is solvable. Actually, I don't know what it is. That's a story for another time. But anyway, I just wanted to give my thoughts, my opinions, and I really ask the question: Do you all listen? Are you not being defensive? Are you not being defensive? Are you listening to what the men are saying? We're saying to you, we want a different type of woman, not aesthetically, but attitude-wise. Not aesthetically, but cooperation-wise. Not aesthetically, but we want wives. We want a wife. You all want partners, and you want really what I think you want is emotional support animals. I really think that you have a job. You just want someone to come home and just dump on. I am not interested in that. I'm not interested in that. I'm not interested in that. I want a wife, or technically a wife. I don't know if I sign a legal document anymore. I don't know if I do that. It's too hard to get out of. I don't know if I do that, but maybe if I'm like 85 or something like that, maybe I'll do it. But anyway, I want you to listen to what I want you to really take a self-assessment. If you're a lady watching this, I really want you to take a self-assessment of yourself and the culture, and ask yourself when you're with your girlfriends, you all having a good time, is this really, you're looking at your friends and the way that they carry themselves and the way that they move. It's obviously not all of them. It's obvious. It's obvious it's not all of them, but it is a cultural stigma. And are you all adding to that cultural problem, cultural stigma? Would you want your sons to bring home a woman who talks to their man the way that you talk to your man, who acts the way that your friends act, who wears the things that they're wearing, who has the sensibilities and morality that you have? Would you want your son to bring home somebody like that? You think it's an honest question? And when my daughter says it to me, right? There's a lack. And that's why I told a story about the guy that she's dating. This is not a one-way pick on, right? She told me, right? The women want somebody who's ambitious. It's not a one-way street, right? So that's why that's why I'm talking, making sure that you are on your game, on your grind, and being ambitious. The guy she's talking to is like 28, 29. Good job, but he's not ambitious enough for her. You want to start a family. You gotta move. You gotta think. You gotta be forward thinking. You gotta be forward thinking in your life. And he's at the stage where he should be getting himself together. By the time he's 33 or so, and listen, you can work your job, but go to school, work your job, and that school doesn't have to be college. It can be getting a trade, getting something that's stability. Because if your job ever laid him off, if it slowed down or laid him off, he doesn't have any skills to go do something else. I was very, very fortunate as a police officer. It's really, you can really transfer that skill to another police department. And we actually had a layoff. For 3 months. We laid guys off because it was bad financially for the city. We laid guys off for 3 months, and some never came back, and some never came back mentally, and said, as soon as I get a chance, I'm going to another department where they have more stability financially. Can't blame them for that. At that time, yeah, I think I was a senior officer, so I didn't get laid off, but I remember the guy got laid off. So my point is, you gotta establish this. You gotta establish yourself. So you gotta establish yourself. So this kind of went all over. I went to men and women, but listen, man, I really want ladies to take a look at themselves and take a stock of themselves. Look at your aunts, your uncle. Look at your aunts. Look at your cousins. Look at your grandmother, your aunties. Were they married? What are their philosophies about men? What are their philosophies about marriage, about family formation? What are their philosophies about that? Because the men who are leaving, going overseas, the men who are marrying out into, even if they stay here in the U.S. and they're marrying white women and they're marrying Asian women, etc., they want a family. They are getting married because they want a family, and they do not believe that what they have gotten or their options are viable, good options. They don't believe that. They don't want that. They don't want a sexy red for a wife. They don't want a Cardi B for a wife. They don't. They'll smash. And that's where I think a lot of confusion comes in at. They'll smash, but they don't want that for a wife. All right, I'm going to leave this off. Let me know your thoughts and your opinions. Thank you so much. Something else you want me to talk about, I'll certainly talk about it. My services are open for consultations, for one-on-one coaching. Hit me up and we can get the conversation going. In a one-on-one session. And I really try to give you some direction and all that. I am working on building up some of that stuff. I'll talk about it. I'll talk about that in another video. But all right, I gotta take these. These are I got a procedure to go through. Make sure that you guys are taking care of yourselves. Particularly, I'm a guy who's over 50. When you're over 40, right, get your colonoscopy, get your prostate checked, get all your blood work done, get your blood pressure checked, get all that stuff checked, right? If you're a young guy listening to this, here's what you got to look forward to, making sure you stay healthy and all that. And do it now. Do it now. If you're a young person, do it now. When you're in your 20s, take care of yourself. Hit the gym and don't ever stop. And I'm talking when I stop, I mean, you can maybe take 6 months off or, let me get back to the gym and all that. But make working out and make eating right a routine for the rest of your life. Much love and peace.